Not yet. A deep, distant pressure in the air. Something you don't hear with your ears, but feel in your chest, like the atmosphere itself tightening. Most people wouldn't recognize it for what it is, but it would be the sound of time running out. The pressure in the air wouldn't last long, because the next sound is not one sound at all. It's several things happening faster than the human brain can separate. First comes the light, not a flash, a wall, brighter than the sun, whiter than lightning, so intense it punches through closed eyelids and turns shadows into permanent marks. People indoors would hear glass shatter before they understand why the room suddenly looks like it's on fire. But still, no explosion yet. That's because sound moves slower than light. For a few seconds, there is silence again. A horrible, impossible pause where people stare at windows or the sky, or nothing at all, trying to make sense of what they just saw. Then the sound arrives. It doesn't boom. It doesn't crack. It roars. A rolling, swallowing force that tears through streets, collapses buildings, flips cars, and turns everyday noise into meaningless chaos. It's not loud in the way a concert is loud. It's loud in the way the world itself feels like it's breaking apart. People closest to the blast would never hear it. They'd be gone before sound could reach them. For everyone else, the shockwave would sound like the sky ripping open. Air becomes solid. Windows explode inward. Walls buckle. The ground trembles like it's alive. And then comes another sound most people never expect. Screaming. Not just from people but from structures. Twisting metal. Failing concrete. Buildings crying as they tear themselves apart. Fires igniting everywhere at once, creating a low, constant roar that spreads faster than emergency services ever could. In cities like London, New York, or Sydney, echoes would bounce between buildings, amplifying everything. There would be no single direction the sound comes from. It would feel like it's everywhere. And then, gradually, something strange happens. The noise fades. Not because things are better, but because there's less left to make sound. Cars stop honking. Sirens die mid-wail. Power grids fail. Radios go silent. Phones stop buzzing as networks collapse. What remains is wind. Hot, unnatural wind rushing into the vacuum left behind by the blast. It whistles through broken streets, carrying ash, debris, and something else people wouldn't immediately recognize. Fallout. Tiny particles hitting rooftops, cars, and skin with a soft, steady patter. Almost gentle, almost peaceful. That sound would be deadly, because unlike the explosion, it lingers. Hours later, survivors would still hear it. Tapping on metal, drifting through ruined neighborhoods, settling into places it should never be. People hiding underground would listen to it and wonder when it's safe to move, not knowing that the sound itself means danger. In the aftermath, the loudest sound would become absence. No traffic, no aircraft, no city hum, just crackling fires, distant collapses, and human voices calling out into spaces that no longer answer back. Emergency responders, if any could move, would hear Geiger counters clicking faster and faster. That sound, sharp, frantic, accelerating, would replace sirens as the new warning of death you cannot see. And then there's the sound that follows days later. Broadcasts, shortwave radios crackling back to life. Emergency transmissions repeating the same messages. Calm voices reading instructions they know most people can't follow. Stay indoors. Conserve supplies. Await further information. Those voices would sound smaller than they used to, less confident, because nuclear war doesn't end with the blast. The sound of it lingers for years. In abandoned cities where wind moves through empty streets. In wildlife reclaiming places humans can't return to. In the quiet realization that the world before the sound is gone forever. When people ask what nuclear war sounds like, they imagine explosions. But the truth is far worse. It sounds like normal life right up until it doesn't. It sounds like a phone buzzing, a siren failing, a warning that comes too late, and then silence. If this video made you pause, think, or see the world a little differently, let me know by leaving a comment with your thoughts. If you want more grounded, real-world breakdowns of events we usually only see in movies, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Most people imagine nuclear war as a flash of light, a blinding white explosion that fills the sky. But that's not how it begins. If nuclear war ever starts in real life, the very first thing you experience is not light, the sound. Not a dramatic movie explosion. Not sirens screaming across the city. The first sound is quieter, colder, and far more unsettling. It's the sound of silence breaking. In the United States, the UK, or Australia, nuclear war wouldn't announce itself with panic. It would arrive disguised as routine. An ordinary day, a normal sky, people at work, kids in school, traffic moving like it always does. Then somewhere deep underground, or behind a reinforced door, a phone rings. Not loudly, not urgently, just once. That sound, a single secure line activating, is the real beginning. Inside military command centers, officers would hear a tone they've trained for their entire careers and prayed they would never hear. A calm electronic chime. No emotion, no warning, just confirmation that a message is coming through. That message wouldn't say nuclear war. It would use coded language, cold phrases, short sentences. Launch detection confirmed. Multiple inbound objects. Time to impact, 15 minutes. No shouting, no chaos, just breathing that suddenly feels too loud in the room. Outside, in cities like New York, London, Sydney, or Melbourne, people wouldn't hear anything yet. No sirens, no alerts, no explosions. The world would still sound normal. And that's the most terrifying part. Because the first audible sign to the public wouldn't be the bomb. It would be a phone notification. In the US, it might be an emergency alert tone, that sharp, attention-grabbing sound that cuts through everything. The same one used for hurricanes or Amber Alerts. In the UK, it would be the national emergency alarm pushed to every smartphone. In Australia, the emergency alert system would activate. That tone lasts only a few seconds. But those seconds would change everything. People wouldn't even read the message at first. They'd freeze. Because the sound itself already tells them something is wrong. This isn't weather. This isn't a test. The message would be short, direct, almost impossible to process. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Phones would keep buzzing as people reread the words, hoping they misunderstood, hoping it's a mistake, hoping someone will say it's been canceled. But there's another sound happening at the same time. In military radar stations, operators would hear a faint, repeating pulse through their headsets. That sound represents objects moving faster than anything humans have ever built for civilian life. Intercontinental ballistic missiles don't roar like jets. They don't whistle. They don't scream. They move silently through space. The only sound they make is electronic, translated into beeps, lines, and numbers on screens. To the people tracking them, those beeps are louder than any explosion. Because every pulse means distance closing. Every second means fewer options. Back in the cities, sirens would finally begin to sound, but not everywhere at once. Some systems would fail. Some wouldn't activate in time. Some people would never hear them at all. The sirens themselves aren't cinematic. They're uneven, mechanical, almost outdated. A sound designed decades ago for a threat everyone hoped would stay theoretical. Cars would slow down. People would stop walking. Conversations would die mid-sentence as strangers look at each other with the same unspoken question. Is this really happening? And still no explosion. Just alarms. Phones buzzing. Sirens echoing through streets that suddenly feel exposed. Inside homes, radios would interrupt broadcasts with emergency tones. Television screens would cut to static, then official voices speaking too carefully, too calmly. That calm would be unsettling, because calm means it's already out of their hands. And then, above it all, there would be one final sound before impact. Not the blast,